back to episode number 6 of the Road to WrestleMania, and following the Raw after Elimination Chamber, it's only natural that we book the Smackdown after the same event. Similarly, this night has to be the one to set the benchmark for the raised stakes of the final stretch of the Road to WrestleMania, and I've got a few pretty big segments planned that I hope will do just that. The show begins with a recap of what happened at the Elimination Chamber event. The Fiend retained the Universal Championship, albeit in fairly bizarre circumstances, while Bayley went underhanded to beat her friend Sasha Banks, who had, until that point, dominated the contest. Corey and Cole then promoted tonight's key headlines with an appearance from Sting and The Undertaker, as well as an answer to the question, who's next for Roman Reigns? As far as in-the-ring segments goes, Bayley opened the show, making her way down to the ring and cutting a triumphant promo about overcoming 5 women in the most dangerous structure in WWE history. She ignored the fact that she'd screwed Sasha Banks over to get the job done, but it wasn't long before the boss made her feelings known to the champion. Joining her in the ring, Sasha called out what Bayley did, but accepted that everything is legal in the Elimination Chamber. That didn't change the fact that Bayley knows all about Sasha's injuries, and if she didn't know any better, she'd think that the champion knew that the title was about to be taken. This caused Bayley to throw a bit of a tantrum, and she threw it back at Banks, saying that she didn't tell her that she was coming back, and that's not what friends do. Bayley says that Banks was the one who screwed the loyalty between them, and claimed that she couldn't bear to face her right now. That works out well, because Sasha Banks was scheduled to be in the opening contest of the night. Banks had eliminated Mandy Rose in under 2 minutes in the Elimination Chamber. It took slightly longer for her to get the win here, but it was another confident, decisive win for the boss, making Mandy Rose tap out by the Banks statement. After the match, Sasha Banks made it clear that her intention was to challenge for the Smackdown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Whether she was friends with Bayley or not didn't matter. This brought Naomi out, who was similarly interested in the shot at WrestleMania. Naomi told Banks that she's only been back 5 minutes, so she better get to the back of the queue. Banks said that she made Naomi tap out at the Elimination Chamber, and that puts Naomi at the back of the line. Heading to the back, Bryan is interviewed about Elimination Chamber and his plans moving forward, but is cut off by Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn says that Bryan seems to talk about what's coming next every week, and that's because after each failure, he looks back at what could have been. Sami Zayn says that Bryan could have joined him, Shinsuke and Cesaro in changing the WWE, but instead he decided to turn his back on what he believed in and pander to the WWE universe. Bryan took no notice of Sami Zayn's words, however, instead going face to face with Shinsuke Nakamura. Pointing to Sami Zayn, Bryan asked, "Is that what you wanted when you came to the WWE?" before shaking his head and walking off. Coming to the ring, The Miz and John Morrison cut a promo gloating about their victories over the New Day and the Usos, looking to humorously put down both teams. This drew all 4 men out from the back and resulted in The Miz and Morrison running for higher ground. Jimmy, Jay, Big E and Kofi Kingston all stared them down from the ring as Elias and Braun Strowman appeared at the top of the ramp. The cowardly champions managed to get away, but it was clear that there were 3 huge teams potentially chasing them on the road to WrestleMania. Coming back from the break, Bray Wyatt had a very special guest for Firefly Funhouse, Kane. He's dressed in his mayor suit, or more like corporate Kane attire. He is unmasked and suited, and despite his defeat to The Fiend at Super Showdown, he has a huge smile on his face and matches the over-the-top enthusiasm of The Fiend's alter ego. Kane said it was a pleasure to finally be inside the Firefly Funhouse and thanked Bray Wyatt for getting rid of that stinky old mask that he used to wear. Following footage from Braun and Elias' victory over Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro at Elimination Chamber, the Drifter had earned himself a shot at the Intercontinental Champion. Shinsuke Nakamura won the match, albeit with questionable tactics, retaining the title in 10 minutes and 24 seconds. With Shinsuke joined by Cesaro and Sami Zayn in the celebration, Bryan came down to the ring, confronting the trio once again. Sami Zayn asked why he was out here, suggesting that maybe he wanted to apologise for earlier and try and worm his way back into their group and into their success. Bryan again completely blanked Sami Zayn and was there to talk to Shinsuke Nakamura and to a lesser extent Cesaro. Bryan said that he was facing Cesaro tonight, but the Intercontinental Champion is the one who has his attention. Bryan says that he's had ups and downs in his career, but one thing he doesn't have is regrets. Bryan says that he has lived every day as a wrestler to his full potential. When Nakamura came to the WWE, there was a lot of talk about potential, and he had that game-changing match against Sami Zayn of all people in his debut. Bryan watched in amazement just like everybody else, and he thought about the potential that Nakamura had to be one of the biggest names in the history of the WWE. and there was no reason that Nakamura couldn't have done everything that Bryan's done in the WWE and more. He should have been a WrestleMania main eventer. Bryan says that while Nakamura is the Intercontinental Champion, all he's done is bring the title down. That championship should be in one of the marquee matches at WrestleMania, but Nakamura is happy to just coast by and bring himself down to Sami Zayn's level. Bryan understands that Sami gave up a long time ago on his dream, but Nakamura still has the chance to save his legacy. But it won't be done by allowing Sami Zayn to lead him and being a follower. Daniel Bryan wants Shinsuke Nakamura, but he doesn't want this Nakamura. He wants the artist. He wants the king of strong style. Bryan then leaves the ring as Sami Zayn talks to Nakamura, telling him to ignore Bryan's words. Cesaro keeps his eyes on Bryan, who he will face tonight, and that's the end of the first hour of Smackdown. The second hour of Smackdown begins with a Roman Reigns interview in the back, the question of who's next for Roman Reigns being answered later in the evening. Roman Reigns said that he didn't know who he'd be facing at WrestleMania, and that's what's so great about it. He's going to find out when the rest of the WWE Universe does. Out of that, footage from Super Showdown aired selected clips from the Ultimate Dream match between Sting and The Undertaker, ahead of them going face to face for the first time since that match, up next. Sting was first to make his entrance in an excellent segment that has been head and shoulders above anything else on the show so far, and put over in his own words how much the match meant to him and how he felt about what had gone down at Super Showdown. He wanted to bring out The Undertaker and shake his hand and show respect after all these years. They finally had the Ultimate Dream match. That makes it seem like it was a really short segment, but of course Sting would put into his own words. So the idea is that he says his piece, probably after his last match ever. He can say whatever he wants, unscripted promo, I'm pretty sure it was, before The Undertaker makes his long entrance. So as you can imagine, this is a pretty long segment in total. Once The Undertaker is eventually in the ring, he goes to speak to Sting, but before any handshake can happen, the lights go out. The familiar sound and look of a Fiend attack is seen, but after a while, everything goes completely dark and completely silent. When the lights return, The Undertaker is gone, and the Fiend is in the face of Sting. Sting takes defensive action, but is caught in the mandible claw by the Fiend. The Fiend takes Sting down to the mat and administers the hold until the Icon is no longer struggling. The Fiend then returns to his feet and issues the challenge to The Undertaker. Fiend wants dead man at WrestleMania. Back from the break and the discussion of the previous segment, we go into another match, Kofi Kingston facing off against Sheamus. King Corbin comes out, originally looking to confront Sheamus, but somehow, in some sort of confusion, he eventually helps Sheamus to win. Kofi may be trying to get rid of Corbin and turn straight into a bro kick. Apparently these two don't click, but it's not too bad of a match. After the match, Corbin is looking to take credit for Sheamus' victory, which again doesn't sit well with the Celtic Warrior. Cesaro was interviewed about the main event against Daniel Bryan, but Sami Zayn again looked to do the talking for them. Cesaro then took the microphone from Zayn, saying that he can fight for himself and he can talk for himself. Cesaro adds that Bryan questioned their group earlier tonight, but they are stronger than ever and he will answer the critics when he puts Bryan down. Despite his strong words before the break, Cesaro didn't have it in him to defeat Daniel Bryan, and despite a decent length match and a superb match apparently, which gets a pretty good rating, excellent performance from Daniel Bryan there, he comes out with a decisive victory in 13 minutes and 20 seconds. Post-match, Daniel Bryan stands tall, his focus of course on the Intercontinental Championship and a potential WrestleMania match with Shinsuke Nakamura. Returning to the very last segment of the show, Roman Reigns makes his entrance with the much teased who's next for Roman Reigns about to be answered. Roman talks about his previous WrestleMania conquest and says that this year he wants to top them all. The call was answered by his long-term rival, King Corbin. Corbin was in the role of the ultimate troll, playing on the fact that these two have wrestled so many times and obviously people were tired of their rivalry by the end of it, and he suggests that the feud should end on the biggest stage of them all. It is the dream match that everybody wants to see at WrestleMania. The idea is to get enough disappointment and try and make people believe that this match is going to happen, build up Corbin's heat until we get the real answer, making his WWE return the first time since SummerSlam. Goldberg is back. The former Universal Champion comes down to the ring and Corbin tells him that he's already got a match for WrestleMania, Goldberg can go home, but predictably he eats a very forceful spear. Corbin rolls out of the ring and Goldberg goes face to face with Roman Reigns, the big dog smirking, having learned the identity of his WrestleMania opponent. Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, another match confirmed for WrestleMania. So it's a A-rated show, the best show I've booked so far, obviously helped by a solid main event, but that Sting, Undertaker, Fiend segment and the main event segment, I'm happy with that show overall. The next shows are the go-home shows. I'm going to book between those two shows and hopefully bring them very, very soon. But that is a brilliant Smackdown to begin our final stretch on the road to WrestleMania. A few matches seemingly confirmed. The Fiend versus Undertaker seeming likely. Daniel Bryan wants Shinsuke Nakamura. And that key match in that key segment, Roman Reigns versus Goldberg.